started, I'd like to invite Joe Rabian, the developer of the Nova Scotia, to say a couple words to invite us in.
Hello everyone, thanks for coming. It's such a wonderful day. I'm just from Toronto to be here today to listen to all the suggestions that you guys have. Hopefully, actually this is our fourth session at Halifax, both sides of Halifax. So it's been really, we've been learning a lot, and listening, and learning. So we hope that we'll hear some new ideas and we'll hopefully see how we move forward into our project. So we'll talk a little more about the project.
Great. Thank you. So I'm Rachel Dara, and I'm part of the public engagement team that's been working on this project so far. And we're a bit of a collective or a collaborative amongst teams. I work for a little company called CoLab, and we do creative engagement primarily in Halifax. This is Sarah Thompson here at the slides. She's with New Leaf Social Innovation and does a lot of facilitation work. We've got Marguerite here at the back, capturing and drawing what we say, and she has a company called Brave Space, does graphic harvesting work. And behind the camera, we've got Craig Moore with Spider Video. So he's been live streaming all of our events and working on the social media. So the event today is being live streamed on the internet, so what you say will be visible to the world whoever it's being. When we first started doing this project, I got really excited at the idea of doing engagements across the province. It seemed like a really big opportunity. We've got this $500 million development, massive development happening in the heart of the city of Halifax. And we're taking the opportunity to say, how can this actually benefit communities across Nova Scotia? And think of all the times when I've been in a room in Halifax talking about the future of Nova Scotia, there's only been people from Halifax in the room. This feels like a bit of a culture shift in the way that we are doing things. We're actually going to communities to speak to people there about how the project in the city can bring benefit there. It seems like there's something a little bit subtle that's happening with these engagements. There's definitely the practical things that we'll get to in a minute, but something subtle about how it is when opportunity comes, that we're not just going back into our silos and being fragmented. And it's not a community competing against a community to really grab onto an opportunity. It's not a region competing against a region to grab onto an opportunity, but we're saying something's happening here, how can we make these opportunities actually come to life across the province? And how are we working together? I think that's what I get really excited about, is to see real collaboration taking place. I'm a young person from the Maritimes. I've been in Halifax living for 7 or 8 years now, and I really want to do work to create a culture of collaboration where new ideas can come forward, and we see innovative ideas actually happening. And for me, this project feels like a step in that direction. And yeah, I think specifically something about how, when big ideas happen in the city, how we engage people across the province. There's something about finding new partnerships that we're really looking into with these engagements. So what partnerships can be created so that Wolfville, so that the Valley can find benefit in this project? And what we find that will inform new policies and programs that will happen due to the new convention center being built. So that's really what I got excited about, is the new possibilities for getting out of our silos, for building bridges, for finding new connections. And it just feels a bit fresh to me, so I'm really glad that you guys are here with us today. The purpose of the entire engagement campaign between the province and the engagements in the city is to create a highly responsive and participatory interface between decision makers and people affected by those decisions. And the purpose of specifically this gathering today and the gatherings that are happening across the province is twofold. So the first is to get some design ideas for the building. How can the Nova Centre actually bring Nova Scotia's culture to the heart of the city? How can someone come into the building or be on the street and really see what it is to be in Nova Scotia? We want the building to really paint a picture of that. And then the other purpose to this engagement is to seek those new partnerships, those ideas for policies and programs, so that local businesses, local areas of tourism can find the economic benefits and connect with people that are coming into the city and the province from conferences and conventions. This is a brief overview of the engagement so far. So in July and June, we had a stakeholder gathering in Halifax where we started to plan the engagement campaign. The And then we had a town hall meeting where we opened it up for multiple perspectives to just say whatever they wanted about the building. We didn't do any presentations, but that was an open forum for people to come to say what they're really thinking. And then on July 26th, the Vision and Principles gathering in the city, we dug into some ideas for the building, the design of the building, what's their vision for it, what are some design principles that can lead this building concept forward. And so the architect and the developer have been working with what came up at those meetings to design it into a building concept that will be presented in the fall, and as well as these 5 constituents. So the design ideas are getting cards to as Mike Reed's doing here in the room, and that information from the developer is getting worked in. And so on October 3rd will be the first time that the building concept will be presented to the public. There will be an opportunity for feedback on that design. And then we'll talk specifically about streetscape. How does the building meet the street? What does that look like? Not to design any more big blank walls in our communities. And then again, the architect and developer will take that information, come up with a new concept, and bring it back to the public again on October 24th, have an opportunity for feedback, and talk specifically about public space. And then again, that feedback loop, that iterative design will happen. And on the 21st of November, the engagement will be specifically around the design of the convention center. And then in December, we'll show the final design, and that will be the launch of the building and the finale of the public engagement campaign. So today, welcome. We're doing that right now. We'll have a check-in in a couple of minutes where we just get to turn to someone in the room that you don't know and start to meet each other, start to have conversations, and to dig in a little bit. We'll have a presentation from Joe to see what is the Nova Center actually, what are the different components that make up this development. We'll have a conversation at our tables about our vision for this building and about the design of it. Then we'll have another presentation from Scott Ferguson, the Trade Center on the Convention Center itself, and from Stephen Hoyle from Economic and Rural Development with tourism, the different opportunities of this. Right? And then we'll break out into different discussion groups, specifically around the partnerships, programs, and policies that get some ideas going. And then we'll close. We'll be done by 4. So for the next 5 minutes, Sarah actually doing this? So for the next 5 minutes, we're going to find someone in the room that you might not know. Because one of the benefits or opportunities I think that we have in these engagements is to actually meet people locally too, who we have not spoken to before, and some possibilities that are there. So find someone that you don't know and talk about what has been your best experience of an urban development making a positive impact across the region. And the word experience there I think is really important. So we're not having conversations that are just rooted in the newest big theory or the latest big idea, but actually when have you really experienced that happening? It could be in Nova Scotia, it could be anywhere around the world. Okay, great. So we'll take 5 minutes, find someone that you don't know, and then we'll come back and hear from you. Thank you. Is anyone? Okay, that would be great.
Both of them are farmers markets that I'm thinking of the St. Lawrence market in Toronto and the Halifax market in Halifax. I think both of them have pretty profound effect on outlying regions simply because the participants, many of them are from the outlying regions, so they're traveling. I think those are great experiences, especially for urban people that think meat grows in packages or oranges are produced fridges and whatever. So for me, the farmers market is a great community opportunity.
Thank you.
Well, we talked about the just down the road minus and the infrastructure there associated with soccer. So on the sign we have the soccer capital of the land Canada. So clearly that's created a housing activity, just by virtue of the new place and all the facilities that are on the other side.
Anyone else? We spoke about Pier 21 and the city and how it brought it, well, it articulated a shared experience and an important historical experience, but it also brought a lot of, it attracted, it kept integrity in terms of the space. It built on the integrity of the space, and then it also drew other businesses and partnerships, including the farmers market, into that whole area.
And I'm the salesperson, I guess. We talked about a number of things. I guess a couple of the major things were more athletically based in terms of the TV arena complex here and Canada Game Centre in Halifax, and as well as the Wolfville in Halifax, and how they try to bring communities together, but not just the local communities. They also draw on broader community, both regionally and internationally.
And I think this wasn't just a kind of a haphazard little question to get people talking to each other, but I think it's really this sense of how do we learn from those experiences and build on them as we look at the Nova Center and how it can really be the best it can be in terms of having influence across the region. So I'd love to invite Joe to just give us a little bit of information to kind of frame about the project.
Just to give you a little bit, this is a project that's 1 million square feet. It's mixed use. Of course, at its base is the convention center. It would be retail. It would have residential. It would have a hotel, underground parking, and another major piece is the financial center that will be there. And the financial center is a really important piece to this project. What we do right now, we're at a university. We as Nova Scotia, we subsidize our kids to go to university. Then we don't have a job in Halifax, we have to go somewhere else. So hopefully, and this has already been started because there has been, the government has been working to create a financial city where it's bringing financial companies to come and locate here in Halifax. And now they're starting to work with universities. How can they set up a program where when the kids graduate, they have a job to go to? So the connection has been made with some of these large financial companies from around the world to work with universities. So when these kids graduate, they know they have a job. So the financial center is a really important part of this project. So that's the project. We do have in Halifax, we're well positioned geographically, and because of our time zone, because of our location, we're closest to Europe. We're an hour and a half or so from New York. Our time zone also works with us to be able to create this financial center here. We're an hour before New York opens, and we're 4 hours from London. And I'll just give you an example. We brought a company here about 4 years ago in the insurance business in the UK. They started with 10 people and 10,000 square feet. Less than 5 years, we just opened a space for them, 70,000 square feet, and they're going to 800 people. And one of the reasons is the workforce that we have, the cost of operating here. A big reason has been the time zone. Most of the calls come in between 4 and 8 London time, which makes it 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock Halifax time. So we have a lot of advantages that we can offer on that front. This will be the largest green building in Atlantic Canada. We're trying to achieve LEED Gold. So basically it'll be a very sustainable building, very green building, very energy efficient building, as well as very high technology. We believe this building will be a catalyst for economic growth that will create quite a few jobs through the construction, and after that, it will be great for tourism. But the most important of this, we believe this place will become a connection where we connect not only Nova Scotia with the world, but Nova Scotians together. As we visited Sydney, and Truro, and all the places we've been, we've heard that sometimes the people that are here don't seem to be connected and know much about what's happening around Nova Scotia. So we hope that this will become a connection where we can create a spot, which is the public space, where we can give each section of Nova Scotia to highlight who they are and what's there, so people can see and be able to go visit there. So we believe that it could become a real connection between Nova Scotians along with connecting with the world. There's been lots of talk that there's a lot of subsidies from the government. This is a pure private risk in money that's going into this project. The government is a tenant in this project. And like all tenancies, they are paying $51 million towards leasehold improvements. There is no subsidization. There is no risk that the government is taking in this project. Our aspiration for this project is the position of Bank of Canada as a nucleus for people to come together, as I said, connect, share new ideas, and celebrate. We've learned a lot, as I said, from doing these consultations. We've been able to sit down with people and listen. And we've come up with some great ideas. There's ideas that are distinct to certain market, and there's ideas that have been layering on top of each other. What we've heard in Halifax, what we've heard in Sydney, what we've heard in Truro, they seem to be layering on top of each other. And hopefully, in October, we'll be able to gather all these ideas and come up with something that will be able to be proud and be part of. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. This image is on your tables as well, a little overview of what's come up again and again at these engagements so far. So you can see people have been asking for friendly sidewalks, actually, has been one of the hugest pieces of feedback. People don't want to see blank walls on the street anymore. They want a really permeable space that can interact with in their city, a building that's built for them. Green space, plants, trees, water, living roofs. This idea is come up again and again. Some sort of performance space that we can have live music on our street downtown Halifax, musicians from all across the province, and a place to show art, public art, and a big theme. And then food and retail vendors, local food, having cafes, restaurants, bars, food trucks, food carts. And so all these ideas they're also available in documents that are on the tables, and they are downloadable online. We'll be having similar documents available from these provincial gatherings as well. Keep seeing what's happening, what people are saying. So now what we just heard from Joe, and thinking about the design of the building. We're going to have conversations at our tables, but we're actually going to ask you to switch tables first, so we can be sharing as many different perspectives as possible. We're not talking to the same people too many times. So please take a minute to find a new table.
And maybe one person can stay behind.
You as well. And all set. How can this building reflect a compelling vision for all of Nova Scotia? How can this building be a showcase of Nova Scotia? At one of the provincial engagements, I think it was in Truro, someone said the idea of Times Square, where if you go to New York, you can go to Times Square and find something interesting. You can learn about the city in that space. So how can the Nova Centre be that for the province of Nova Scotia? How can it showcase our heritage, our culture, our landscape, all the beauty that we have to offer, and also our visions that we have for the future, where we want to go. So we'll take about 10 minutes to have this discussion, and just please notice if you're speaking a lot and no one else is giving you a chance to, or maybe there's someone at your table who isn't speaking.
I was just going to say that.
We'll have a more rich conversation if we get all the perspectives. An invitation to notice that.
Right, okay. So we're going to say approach.
Let's share some of of the ideas that come up at the
A
table.
sense of, yeah.
We're going to gather together. Would anyone like to share first?
It's one of the ideas we had was we take art from universities and institutions around the province and have this way of doing public areas, displays, and such. So and you change it up every a couple times a year, so you get a feel of just the different universities and how they connect to Halifax and just how the provinces connect. And you have any challenge for each university to produce something that speaks to something or just put on display for the city to see.
That's great. Thank you. Anyone else like to share? I'm going to start gathering some questions.
Oh, sure. A lot of our discussion was about, you used the word permeable, making it a more people-friendly place, including, if it could be done, to shut down vehicular traffic and make it a walkable, more humane space. We also talked about the idea of having regional showcases. And also some space to showcase innovation from around the province. Yesterday was the launch of the Acadia Tidal Energy Institute, and quite a few important people from all levels of government and academics and everything else. And it's something that both Acadia and the province can be really proud of. And with that work going on, right here in Kings County, that's the type of innovative teamwork that really should be showcased in a place like Halifax. And finally, our artistic friend here at the table. So the Nova Scotia flag is a symbol of convergence. When you look at the blue crosses, where they intersect in the middle is actually an excellent symbol. And the idea of actually building upon that symbol would be wonderful to see that translated into an actual physical space somehow. So I thought that was a really great idea.
We kind of built on some of those similar ideas actually. We liked the word reflect that was in the question, and we kind of extended it a little bit to a little more reflective. So reflective of the elements right around the location. So we were a little more literal, I suppose, and looked at Argyle Street and said, there's history, tradition from, I'm not sure of the dates, but maybe the 18th century or 1800s, I guess, early 1900s. Just above the center, we have Citadel Hill from the 1700s. So just try to be a little more reflective of some of the elements that are right around the center was one. Building on that, kind of a sense of place. So we really felt it was important to have an authentic location, something that was authentically Nova Scotian. Darlene talked about a location she recently visited, a convention center. And that convention center had snippets of information throughout the building about things that had happened at that location over the course of 100 or 200 years. And she really felt that by the time she left the center, she had a strong sense of what had occurred in that community over the previous sort of 100 or 200 years. So just a good feeling, I guess, about what actually occurred in that area. And then finally, friendly concierge, so somebody who can be approachable, easy to meet, has great information about the community, about the province, is the local expert. But we kind of, rather than just kind of stick that in a booth in the middle of the building, have that person in a friendly, approachable space that we couldn't define, but sort of an easy to approach location.
Thank you.
I think we also had a theme of having it be a really the authentic experience of Nova Scotia and kind of a full sensory experience. So food, art, music, locally made objects, for sale in gift shops, and a sort of decor and aesthetic that people, they know that they're not anywhere in the world. They know they're in Nova Scotia. The other one was the idea of just having regular feasts and celebrations, and maybe even this idea of a covered gathering space where locals and visitors can kind of come together, have an experience of local food, but also of community. And we have if green space was such a big issue, let's really look at how it can be a kind of local indigenous plant life, that it can be a representation of the Acadian forest and how we operate in the green space.
Does Tate like to share any thoughts that came up?
One of the things we do the other day was about respecting the heritage, and certainly the Citadel, which is a neighbor of this, and it shouldn't be compared. You kind of view from the Citadel, which is one of the most spectacular views, and so that was an important part of the vision of the show.
So a symbol of convergence. Art exhibitions from Nova Scotia universities showcasing the art of Nova Scotia in the public space here. Gathering space for celebration. Authentic location and experience of the five senses when you're there. Using the history of the site to bring the space to life and respecting the heritage, the beautiful heritage that's already existing in Halifax and the beautiful views that exist from the Citadel in our city. And friendly. Thank you.
I'd like now to invite
Scott Ferguson from Trade Center to tell us a little bit more about the convention center itself.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks very much for attending today's event. What I wanted to do is, and I just really got 3 slides, to speak a little bit about the business and the nature of the kind of activity that we expect and hope to attract to the new center. And I know Joe spoke a few moments ago about the nature of this development being a privately led development with many, of course, public pieces to it. So maybe I'll go to the first slide. The interesting part about this, I find, is that I've been in this business for a very, very long time, but really the conclusion I've come to is this is a really rather simple business. This is simply a business about connecting people. And to do it effectively, it needs to accomplish that from 2 perspectives. It really needs to connect Nova Scotians and Atlantic Canadians in a meaningful and important way. But it also needs to connect many of our international delegates and visitors, not only with themselves, but with other Nova Scotians. And I often look at the way an old city or European city has grown up around a city square, and what that city square is used for. And I see convention centers really having that same use. So I see them as today's version of that old city square. In this particular case, the overall development is being led by Rank Inc., of course, is a major tenant, being the province of Nova Scotia. Trade Center Limited. The unique and exciting part about that is that it provides the full accountability on parties for actually what they should be accountable for and what I think they're good at. One is from the developer perspective, the developer is responsible for delivering a very specific development on time against a certain budget. And often with large projects, when there's cost implications or overruns, those risks and those responsibilities are for the developer. They're not being borne by the public, by the taxpayer, by government. And I think that's an appropriate positioning for that. At the same time, as operator, Richard Crown Corporation Trade Center is responsible for what we do, which is to attract not only international and national business to the facility, but also to use it in a meaningful way to connect Nova Scotians. And that's something that we've been doing for 27 years, and that's where our expertise lies. And I think it's important that those responsibilities are clearly defined from the beginning. We are speaking about approximately 120,000 square feet of rentable usable space, a LEED certified gold facility, which will be a national standard. and we are targeting, expect to open this facility in January of 2016. The second slide is just a little bit about the Canadian landscape, and it's intriguing because these are numbers that the Conference Board of Canada produced just over 2 years ago, when they defined and reviewed the meetings business across the country. And you know, their survey, their work indicated that you know, the meetings and conventions business is a significant economic contributor. And I think often people don't give much thought to what this business is about, other than just pulling people together in a room. It involves a great deal of travel, and involves a great deal of expenditures, and even some of their numbers, $14 billion in annual tax revenue for this, not only national government, for provincial and municipal governments across the country, 673,000 meetings a year, $71 billion in industry output, and 550,000 full-time jobs. The key here is that there's a very strong economic argument as to why these businesses and why these convention centers exist across the country. In a few minutes we'll get into what the benefit streams are from this business. It goes well beyond, in my view, just strictly the economic numbers, but traditionally those are the numbers that are used by cities and municipalities when they build convention centers. And that is the reason why virtually every major city across the country has been expanding and growing their business over the last number of years. The convention center we occupy today was built in 1985 and really has remained virtually unchanged with the same 50,000 square feet that we have. The challenge we have in our existing building is that we really can only host one conference at a time. If that conference happens to be a conference of 200 or 1,000 persons, it's one at a time. It's really the first person in the door. If you look across the country, the goal, of course, is to attract as many of those meetings as you can, which means you need space that can work for multiple groups at the same time. And that's really what we're looking to achieve with the new center. So it's not only the ability to attract major conferences that are too big for this market, there are some of those, it's more important, I think, to attract the multiple meetings that can happen at the same time. We did do a review early on in the process to take a look at the footprint we had in the existing building and to really truly understand if it was a building that was a footprint that could be expanded, and it was not. We clearly did not have the space on the site that we now occupy to expand to the level to be competitive in this market. And we have kept track of our business. We have detail on our site over 100 national and international conferences that we've lost since 2007 because of our inability to host them in the current facility. And I would encourage anyone to go to our site and review the reports and papers that have been produced over the last several years. You know, whether or not you agree or not with the center, I think you'll have to agree. I think we've been very open and transparent with the numbers and reports that we've produced. And if you go to that site, you'll see a great deal of information, warts and all, with respect to this development and this industry. And I think it's one that makes a significant contribution to this country. And that's why virtually every municipality or province across this country has either expanded or is expanding their convention center to be more. Last slide is just with respect to our projections, which again are posted on our website. We used a base year of 2009, showing a total of 584 events that we posted at Trade Center Limited. Our 10-year projections account for an average of 680 events approximately over that 10-year period of time. And we, of course, publish all of those numbers for anyone who wishes to review those. I think we've been very responsible and reasonable with those projections. In fact, we've hit close to that 680 mark this past year on events. So I think we've tried to take a very conservative approach to our business mix and the contribution that this business will make to the province. Our goal, of course, is to not only attract larger conventions, that's a big part of it. It's really about hosting the multiples that I mentioned a few moments ago. And our focus, of course, is on those groups and organizations that are able to contribute the most. And of course, that starts with the national and international conferences. They stay longer, they spend more. It also gives us a link into the various sectors that we've already heavily invested in Nova Scotia, because of course a lot of our business will come from the marine and medical and other sectors that we've spent a great deal of investment over the past year. So, Steve is going to speak a little bit about the the economic impact of the business, and then we'll just talk a little bit about some of the other benefits.
Sorry.
Thanks, Scott. Hey, Rachel. My name is Steve Coyle, and I'm with the Nova Scotia Tourism Agency, and I'm the manager of research there. So I'm going to be, in that capacity, I'm going to be talking for about 5 minutes about the economic and tourism opportunities around the convention center development, and how those benefits, probably most importantly for this discussion, about how those opportunities might spill out into all areas of the province. So just a brief overview of the presentation, with the business case, the economic opportunities, and how this fits into the long-term tourism strategy for the province. So clearly there's going to be economic activity and economic benefits associated with the construction of the development. These numbers are specific to the convention center, and we're talking about $9.5 million in provincial government revenues. Clearly that's a big number, and almost 1,000 person years of direct employment around the construction phase alone. In terms of the operation of the center, okay. In terms of the center as a whole, $85 million in provincial tax revenues over the first 10 years. Now, as Scott mentioned, we're able to attract larger events, larger conventions. We're also able to host multiple events. So the incremental piece of that $85 million is $40 million. So that's an additional $40 million over the next 10 years associated with this new opportunity. And the impacts flow into all sectors of the economy. Here we're talking about employment, food, accommodation, security, logistics, and so on. So clearly the impacts are wide-ranging and benefit many areas of the economy. So here we're, this is a little graphic, but it's easy to talk to. The key message here is there's already a tourism opportunity around conventions, and there's an opportunity to grow that. And in the discussion we had earlier about the opportunity to showcase the entire province in the new center, those are opportunities to get visitors to the center to experience the whole province. So already for conventions, half of those visitors are experiencing other areas of the province. So they're either coming early or staying later to do additional visitation to the province. And in terms of the economic opportunity, once again, convention visitors, high-yield visitors, they're spending twice as much as our average as visitors on the whole, and there's an opportunity to grow that. And clearly, by attracting more visitors more delegates to the convention center, we're going to grow that delegate spending. All right, so you have to use your imagination. Okay, so
That's true.
So if there was a chart here, it would say that visitors to Halifax for conventions are already experiencing other areas of the province. So one of the highest areas of visitation is the Annapolis Valley. So just under 20% of visitors to Halifax conventions are already experiencing the valley, and 7% of that total are coming to Wolfville specifically. So this is a phenomenon that's already happening. Clearly, there's an opportunity to grow that with the new center and the new public space and the opportunity to showcase the province. Okay. So I think this would have talked about the Wolfville number, and we have numbers on convention visitors experiencing specific communities throughout the province. So Wolfville is just one example of that, but these visitors to our convention are traveling through the province. You have a question?
Yeah, I'm quite interested in the overall uptake of these convention visitors to all of the downtown, not just specifically the local area.
She says it.
Well, like for instance, get down into the Greater Kingston area, further on down.
And I can share those numbers with you later. Typically, in general, the farther you get away from Halifax, the more dissipated those benefits are. So I suspect, it's probably going to be less than 7%, but I don't know for sure. But those visitors are traveling all the way from their experience in the province, right from Sydney and the Cabot Trail to Yarmouth. So there are visitors already experiencing the whole province. But what we want to do, I think, through this opportunity is to grow that number and to share the opportunity with visitors to Halifax and get them to experience the whole province. And I talked about pre and post. I mean, with the public space, there's going to be convention delegates who perhaps don't have the flexibility to get out and travel, but by showing them what the province has to offer and showcasing the experiences, they're more likely to come back in the future and have a pleasure with the discussion. Just a quick piece about the strategy. The new Nova Scotia Tourism Agency, which was officially created last week, has been engaging in the development of a long-term tourism strategy. And earlier we heard about one of the people here was actually at a session in Berwick a couple of weeks ago. So clearly there's an opportunity to connect this project with the long-term tourism strategy. And the strategy is a partnership of the agency, industry, and other pieces of government in general. So the goal for the strategy is, or the mission of the strategy is focused on the visitor to attract more of them, increase spending, and encourage longer stays to build overall industry profitability. And clearly, there's pieces of this project that fit directly into that strategy. And we're going to have three examples of that. So improve access to key tourism assets throughout the province. Encourage convention visitors to experience the entire province and come back in the future and experience the province more fully. And thirdly, focus on partnerships to attract more visitors and showcase the entire province. So,
for me, the most exciting opportunity about this project is in and around the events that I think are, in and around the benefits that are available to a community in the province. And I think, there was a comment made in one of the earlier sessions about needing to reinvent what this business is. I don't know if there's a whole lot of discussion in the community on what the meetings and convention business is about. It certainly doesn't attract the excitement that a sporting event might. But from an economic development perspective, this business actually is incredibly important. I look at it as the simplest form of economic and community development there is available to anyone in the world today. Quite simply, it's a matter of connecting people. And I think if you do that in a meaningful way, then the benefits are not only multidimensional, but I think they're very, very broad, and I think they're very exciting. Certainly a big part of this project, of course, is to support and connect with the tourism strategy. This is a channel for attracting thousands of people to Nova Scotia. And these are people who don't necessarily wake up in the morning and think I'm going to go to Nova Scotia next week. These are radiologists or brain surgeons or lawyers that are attending an annual conference, and it happens to be in Halifax this year, and they use it as an opportunity to travel to the city and hopefully bring friends and neighbors and children and spend time touring and traveling through the entire province. That means we need to do a really good job 3 years out, working together to make sure we convey and communicate to them what an exciting province this is, and not leave it up to them to do it themselves just through their own searches. And that's the key, is when you host a major conference, it could be biomagnetic engineering or medical informatics, you are the world center for that topic for a week, and you know that 3 years in advance. So you know that there are 800 or 1,000 radiologists or biomedical engineers coming to your city and province 3 years out. So the key then is, how do you turn that 800 into 1,000? You know, how do you get them to stay 3 or 4 extra days? How do you get them to explore commercialization or the business opportunities or the universities? There's a lot of benefit that can flow in knowing that business is in front of us. There clearly is a lot of local industry and business support. These conferences need to be service and supply. It's not just hotels and bed and breakfast and shopping and crafts. There's a great deal, a lot of Nova Scotian products that can factor into this mix. Certainly, as we brand and talk about this province from an international perspective, this is a vehicle to do it. You are attracting people from around the world who are going back into their communities, speaking about their experience in Nova Scotia. And if you've connected with them properly, and you maximize the number that are attending, you've got a great tool to then go out and further promote and speak about our province. Training opportunities, learning, research expertise. This is really exciting. Certainly even from the culinary side of things. I know that a big part of who we are as a province is in and around the ocean, our culinary and our wines, and our food that we grow, and our training at NCC. And we quite actively work with students at NCC now in our facility, and it's a great opportunity to promote and to support that activity. And nonprofit and community groups, is another side of this, that we need to make sure this facility is not just a facility for hosting our international guests. It needs to be a community-based facility that gets used. And my goal and vision and hope here is that this facility is used as a vehicle to connect our international delegates with real Nova Scotians. And I think when I see trends, and we talk about trends in this industry, in my view, there's a need for that very real connection around the world that doesn't always happen. I think when delegates go to major cities, even in Canada, I don't think they meet a lot of local people. I think they meet a lot of their kind, folks that are there for the conference. And I think the change when they come to Nova Scotia is that our delegates and our guests, they meet Nova Scotians. And I think the more we can do that, the more we can facilitate and encourage that, the more likely we're going to be developing those relationships, those business and those personal opportunities that are available to us. And I think if there's one differentiator on how we compete as a province, it absolutely has to be in and around how we connect on a personal level, how we connect Nova Scotians with this complex, and also how we connect those Nova Scotians with our international delegates from around the world. And, so the benefits, in my view, are extremely broad. It's all about partnership. One organization can't do it. We need to work with our partners in tourism and tie-ins and in the wine industry and the universities and the university sectors, and it has to be about partnership, and that's the way that we'll be successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. And so I think what the next piece of our conversation is really to dig in and say, how can we realize this opportunity? Trying to really outline a lot of potential. What are your ideas about how we can build those partnerships? What are your ideas around the policies and programs that can really make a difference? And so we're going to break into 3 different topics. One is showcasing Nova Scotia tourism. The other one is really looking at our culture and heritage and how that plays in to the building and into the Nova Centre. And the third is helping businesses grow. And so the way we're going to do that is we're going to have a little bit of a structured conversation around each of those topics. So we're going to all of us will talk about what are the different perspectives on the topic. There's a bit of information from economic development and tourism about some of the specific questions that might really be important as they're thinking about how to build partnerships, policies, and programs. And then what do we really think is going to make the biggest difference? And each group is going to have an opportunity to sort of send 5 big ideas forward. As we're in these conversations, I encourage you to really listen to learn that each of us has something to offer, but we also need to listen to what other people have to offer, to speak from our own experience, and to notice patterns. Suzanne was just saying that it came in, I have a lot of ideas, and I know everyone in this room has a lot of ideas, but it is really by getting those ideas on the table and seeing what the patterns are that something new might really spark that can make a difference. So I think maybe, so you might feel, you're going to go to in all three of them. So you're welcome to move between. We're going to have about half an hour to be in the sessions, but if you want to use your feet and switch it up, you're totally welcome to move between the tables.
To which other tables?
Yeah, so I think we'll do showcasing Nova Scotia here with tourism. Stephen will be there hosting that table. I'll come over in this corner for culture and heritage. And Scott, do you want to stay where you are? So then the Helping Businesses Grow will be here. Right, so Stephen, do you want to just say a little bit more about what you're looking for in that breakout group?
I mean, just briefly, use my brief presentation as a launching pad in terms of what specifically we can do to grow tourism as well as also new opportunities. So whether it's standing visitation, ways we can showcase the province and the new center, convincing people to come back in the future, bring a companion on the trip. So instead of one person attending the convention, having to bring a spouse along or a child to experience the products.
Yeah, actually, I spoke a little bit about it just a moment ago, but one thought that always sticks with me is we talk a lot about innovation and attracting thinking to this province, and I see this as a vehicle to attract major thinkers from around the world into our community and partnering them up with their counterparts in Nova Scotia and learning and creating added value. And as a result, I think there's a significant business connect, even just around the sector of the conference, let alone the business that flows from the event itself. But I think from a business development and innovation perspective, there's a particular opportunity.
Yeah, so I think it's partly how does the building itself reflect the culture and heritage in our core founding cultures? How do we highlight and celebrate talented Nova Scotians? How does the kind of cultural sector really come into the building, and how do we build those connections? And how do we allow businesses that are culturally based businesses to sell their products and really connect with Nova Scotia? Those would be the three main questions.
Great, thank you. So,
I just had a question. The previous slide had several questions. And the topic, I'm just trying to connect the topics that you, with the questions that you had. Because I was thinking about one of the questions. You said, how would you like to interact with the center? And I'm trying to, where does that?
That's kind of the overall theme of this breakout session now, so interacting with the center, there's policy ideas, program ideas. So if you as an individual, do you have any ideas for interacting with the center through tourism, through culture, through helping business grow? Just meant to be kind of Okay, so 30 minutes. Thank you.
What else?
I mean, that to me, that's just like identifying every possible opportunity.
I don't do that. They have 5%, 10% of their business or
Here's a couple words from each of the group posts about what are a couple of the top ideas we come up with.
So I guess one of the things that we talked about is the opportunity to engage partners so that visitors are aware of all the opportunities within the province to experience different areas. And I guess there are channels that exist for sharing those experiences, but partners might not, first of all, partners might not know what those channels are, so the first thing is to communicate what those channels are. And as Scott said, that we're already, those kinds of things are already happening, but there's an opportunity to probably build on that. So get information into the hands of the convention delegates in perhaps a more effective way, and convince our convention delegates to be more persuasive with their convention delegates to get them out to places like Wolfville and experience them.
Sarah, anything to share?
Yeah, so I think this sense that one of the things that Nova Scotia is most well known for is the people and the kind of friendliness and welcomingness, and so to have the hospitality of the convention center be like a deep reflection of the kind of Nova Scotia human touch, and also this idea that having regional ambassadors and connectors, so almost concierges from different parts of the province that you, rather than there's a button that you push and you find out what's there, there's a human being that you can talk to. The idea of the flag came back and seeing it as a convergent point as the different regions of the province, that, you know, really deeply showcasing our deep roots and our phenomenal history while also being kind of modern and pointing towards a vibrant future. I had to pick the last two because I couldn't. So I picked the lobby as a performing arts space, and this idea that like people could come and busk, that artists could come and just perform for free. There would be this open time for people to be there, and that really like local food as a kind of healthy local food as a defining feature that people would come to the conferences for and really kind of taste and connect out into the rest of the province.
Scott, do you want to share?
Yeah, actually we spoke a lot about the alignments across the province, across sectors and partnerships. I had a great suggestion here actually that is the best idea I've heard for a while actually. The idea was to work with other government departments, but it could apply also to the finance of other organizations. And it's about the idea of supplying an individual on a rotating basis to be part of a team that is chasing and trying to develop these business opportunities. Because what happens now is we reach out into a sector, I guess it could be marine or the national issues, something like that. We try to learn what we can to uncover the opportunity, and then we start getting discussions on how we lead it to, create other opportunities. And it's tough to do that by yourself and seeking a partner. But if you get those departments that are housing those sectors that are relevant to us and getting individuals who are constantly, and over time, you would have a network throughout the province, throughout government, and throughout plans that are actively feeding needs and concepts and ideas and learnings. And you really would have a living, breathing kind of approaches versus one organization doing another one. So that's the best idea.
That's great. So, one more thing before we head back home. Just an opportunity now to talk to your neighbor or at your table. So, what was important for you today? So this question is really for us, for our hosting team. We've got a few more engagements coming up. We're going to be in Lunenburg, and then we'll have 3 more in Halifax throughout the fall. So we want to be designing those engagements around what's important to you. So what was important for you today? So we'll take less than 5 minutes, we'll say 4 minutes, and then we'll just hear a little bit about that, help our learning as we go forward in designing that public engagement.
Are we doing under small groups or?
Yeah, well, pairs is great because then everybody gets a chance to talk. Somebody that you haven't spoken to yet would be lovely as well.
I think it's important that you're doing this work before rather than after. It's not a foregone conclusion.
No, it's not. Starting with life learning. This project will be better because of the process.
This part of it being the presentations were interesting as well.
I think we brought that decentralized the culture of Halifax is not going to be necessarily this it's going to be students can come
But
and
having the
shops
tables
for
gave me
lunch.
the opportunity, I asked my question,
Task
because
force
I just
students,
so rough there.
history or that will be essential for multiple cultures.
So more inviting for the likes of you guys. Instead of those old white guys, this is
Everyone said to you, just from sitting there. Yeah. No, she's
I don't know.
I appreciate that people came out and
I guess I was wondering, people here are actually just citizens. They're just not representing an agent so your development process, how many people are just ordinary.
Well, these kinds of things are intimidating for they work during the day.
That's one thing.
Or they don't like public speaking.
I think that is in some ways intentional. That the engagement of Halifax is very much about design for the public and engagement of the
No, I guess this is the
who actually really are working to try to build these connections to benefit their community. So it's not the fact that you feel like it's difference because that, or it was designed to really, because I think you do have an ingredient that you miss with professionals who it is their kind of day job work, their champion, creative.
It's always Is there an online component to the public meeting?
Yes, and Rachel's just going to talk about that.
And will the build be chronicled? Photographs, videos? Where we are at phase 1?
So I'd love to hear if there's a couple of things that people would like to share before we close up today. Any insights that we can take back with us on what was important to you today? Feel free to whenever you want to speak.
For me, in terms of the last discussion we had, is learning about the channels of communication in terms of the tourism industry and how we can use that to work with the delegates who are maybe that are coming to the center in terms of what my business is, what I do.
I just suggested that this last session was probably the most valuable and most interesting, and it would have been nice to get to all 3 tables, but we were having such a great discussion. Right? We never got anywhere else, so I don't know if in your format you could make, because the presentations were interesting as well. I don't know if we can make it, shorten it, or lengthen them this, maybe 20 minutes at each of these tables and everyone move. Yeah.
Last call. Anything else you want to say? They'll just be bursting when you go home.
Strike up the violence.
Wait. Okay. So just a couple little announcements before we head. In case you want to come to any of the other engagements that are happening in Lunenburg or in Halifax, these are the dates. And these are on the website as well, which I'll show you in a minute. And each of these events will be live streamed, so you can also participate online. There's a chat forum there, so you can give input to the questions as they come up.
So it looks like we're going to focus a little bit more on some of the specifics.
Absolutely. So by October 3rd, all the input that we've gathered from the Halifax engagement and the provincial engagements will be fed into a building concept design. So that'll be the first unveiling of it, and we'll get feedback and dig in a bit to streetscape specifically, and that kind of pattern will happen for the next 3 weeks.
I've got a question. I've been following these out now, or out HRM meetings and the HRM meetings as well. And there's a lot of interesting ideas that come up. In HRM, for example, there were people who said we should have daycare facilities in the building, we should have green space, we should have showcases for this, that, and the other thing. What are the constraints of the developer on this? I mean, how much, or the interaction between you and the province and HRM, how much of this would be even possible? More of these altruistic ideas. I think one of the things in Halifax was we should be a playground in the convention center aspect of this. So what are the constraints on this? I mean, there's all these ideas. Are any of them doable?
We're going to listen to everything that's said. We're going to listen to everything that's been said. Of course, there's financial implications. There's tendencies that we have to deal with. There's a program that the convention center has that needs to make the convention center work. But whatever we can do that can be incorporated, we're rating them, listening to them, and we'll come back and tell you why we're doing certain things, why we can do certain things, and why we can't do certain things. Whether there's space limitation or money issues, but we're open to listen to any suggestion that's put on the table and if we can make it happen, we're happy to listen to it and see what we can do. But there's always constraints, financial, program, tenants, but we've been learning a lot, and I think when people come out and see the new designs that is being developed from the process, they're going to see something completely different than what we had originally came out with. So that the people are going to have an influence on what really this building and this project would look like.
I'm just wondering about these sessions and how much of anything that is here that comes forward in terms of ideas can actually be incorporated in the end. But you're saying you'll look at all the suggestions and then decide what's financially feasible to.
And people will see, they're going to see, they're going to see all these online, and they'll see what we're able to incorporate and what we can't be able to, what we haven't been able to incorporate.
I know you have specifications for so many square feet
Of
for
course.
this, and so many square feet for that, and so many square feet for something else. And so how many square feet are going to be left over for performance spaces, playgrounds, daycare, whatever?
That's what we have to weigh and see what we're able to do.
I'd love to just wrap up and encourage people to stay after to connect more. Just wanted to bring your attention to our online engagement platform. So our website, BuildYourCentre.ca. If you're a Twitter user, we've got a Twitter hashtag and account, and also Facebook. And I encourage you as well, if you want to be updated by email, there's an email sign up for Buy the Coffee on the way out. So thank you very much for being here today. It's a great experience for me. I hope it was for you. And please stay engaged and see what comes from this.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for coming out. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming out.
I'm sure I'll be in touch.